I didn't go out， 今日完全冇出過街啦 ，just stay home the whole day， 咁我就全日喺度宅住喺屋企啦。Cause I had like an online meeting in the afternoon， 咁我晏晝有一個網上嘅會啦 ，and then so I didn't even know what I've done in the morning. I studied some Spanish。我朝頭早做咗啲咩咧？温咗一陣西班牙文啦 ，and then we had the meeting， 跟住開會啦。Oh yes, I was researching about some places I want to see in Colombia。係我走去做一啲 research 啦，睇下哥倫比亞有啲咩地方我想去睇啦，咁樣樣。And then after the meeting, I was really hungry because I didn't have lunch。咁我開完會之後超肚餓啦，因為我冇食晏啦。So I ordered like delivery, and then I found this place like the fish and chips is so good。咁跟住我就叫外賣啦，跟住揾咗呢檔嘢食 fish and chips 啦，因為好想食啦，超好食，好食到爆啦。And so it was like I was so full 我食到飽到上心口But it was a great day。咁今日就係咁樣啦。And now I'm going to read。咁跟住而家就讀書嘅時間。Read to Resist Day 242。當閱讀也是抗爭第242日。A Concise History of Hong Kong by John Carroll。香港簡史從殖民地至特別行政區，著者高馬可，譯者林立偉。Furthermore, there was no reason for the Chinese population to necessarily accept the validity of the government's plague measures. To Europeans, the plague seemed to prove the latest theories about disease, for it appeared to be confined to the poorer and more crowded Chinese parts of town. Although some colonial officials derided the Chinese for believing that the plague emanated from the ground after long periods of hot, dry weather, Western medical theory I'm sorry, I lost my page. Where is it? 1 minute, please. Western medical theory had not yet established that plague was transmitted by rats. Most medical officials believed that it was caused primarily by poor hygiene and overcrowding. Thus, the government's anti-plague policies focused mainly on controlling and isolating the contagions of the disease, the Chinese population. The death rate for infected Europeans was substantially lower than for Chinese. The sanitary board, now given more power, ordered troops to search homes, remove and burn corpses, and isolate plague victims in the Haiya. Many houses were burned down, leading to massive dislocation. As the Chinese was responding to what they saw as the government's intrusive policies, their resistance was both rational and remarkably similar to responses in other colonial and non-colonial societies. 此外，對於政府防疫措施的成效，華人沒有非信不可的理由。對歐籍人來說，這場疫症似乎證明關於疾病爆發的最新理論，因為它似乎只限發生在貧窮和擁擠的華人聚居嘅區域。有些殖民地官員嘲笑華人，相信疫症是因為天熱久旱，令土地蒸鬱脹氣所致。但西方醫學當時也未發現疫症是由老鼠傳播。大多數醫務官員認為疫症的主因是衛生惡劣和居住環境擁擠，因此政府的防疫政策集中於控制和隔離疾病的傳染源華人。染病歐人的死亡率遠低於華人。潔淨局現在獲得更大權力，可以下令軍隊進屋搜查，有權移走和火化屍體，並把染病者隔離在海之家號。疫症重災區的許多房屋被燒掉，大量人流離失所。在華人眼中，政府的政策極具侵擾性，他們對之反抗既理性，又與其他殖民地和非殖民地社會的反應大同小異。 The plague of 1894 had several important effects on Hong Kong society. Although some Chinese leaders had helped distribute medicine, many colonial officials and European residents criticized both Chinese medicine and the Donghua Hospital. In 1896, medical officials demanded that the hospital be abolished. This prompted an inquiry commission which recommended that the hospital be supervised by the medical department, that Western medicine be offered on a voluntary basis, and that a Chinese resident surgeon trained in Western medicine be appointed. In 1897, the government appointed a Chinese steward to oversee the sanitation of the hospital. As the resistance to the government's plague measures seemed to prove how little the Chinese population understood Western ideas of health and sanitation, Europeans and some Chinese elites demanded more English in schools. The plague also reaffirmed many Europeans' conviction that they needed to stay as far away as possible from the Chinese. 1894年的鼠疫對香港社會有幾個重要影響。雖然有些華人領袖協助發放藥物，但大部分殖民地官員和歐籍居民都批評中醫藥和東華醫院。在1896年，有醫務官員要求關閉東華，這促使政府成立調查委員會。委員會建議東華醫院由醫務部監管，該院提供西醫服務，病人可自願接受西醫治療。並委任曾習西醫的華人醫院常駐該院。政府遂在1897年委任一名華人為長院，監督東華醫院的環境衛生。華人對政府防疫措施的抗拒，似乎證明他們的西方健康衛生概念甚為貧乏。歐籍人和一些華人精英因而要求更多學校教授英語。這次鼠疫大流行也再次引證了歐正人的成見，他們應盡量遠離華人，越遠越好。Still, the suppression of the plague was not a victory for either the colonial government or Western medicine. Although local colonial medical officials criticized the Donghua Hospital for continuing to offer Chinese medicine, which was dismissed as imperialism and quackery, the colonial office opposed any attempts to close the hospital. And even though by the end of the 19th century, half of the patients at the Donghua Hospital were choosing Western medicine, the fatality rate for these patients was initially higher than those who chose Chinese medicine. The Hong Kong plague was also probably responsible for the one that afflicted India in 1896 to 1900. As in Hong Kong, part of the Western education, Indian middle class was critical of the way that hospitalization and segregation were carried out. As in Hong Kong, all kinds of rumors spread, although in India, they were compounded by rumors of general catastrophe and the collapse of British rule. Inoculation brought instant death, hospitals were poisoning victims and cutting up bodies to extract their momiai, vital oil, and even healthy people were being hospitalized and would never leave alive. Only after widespread resistance from the Indian population did the colonial government agree to end or modify some of the more coercive plague measures. 不過，這場鼠疫最終撲滅，並非殖民地政府或西方醫學的勝利。雖然殖民地的醫療官員對中醫大加撻鍋，指它是經驗主義和江湖騙術，批評東華繼續提供中醫治療，但殖民地部反對關閉東華醫院。而且即使到了19世紀末，有半數東華醫院病人選擇接受西醫治療，但最初這些病人的死亡率比以中醫治療的病人還要高。印度在1896年至1900年也爆發鼠疫，很可能是由香港傳入。跟香港的情況一樣，部分曾受西方教育的印度中產階級對強制入院和隔離措施感到不滿。瑤水分傳的情況也和香港並無異致，只不過在印度還流傳會發生大災難和英國統治崩潰的謠言。其他謠言包括接種疫苗會令人馬上死亡，醫院毒殺病人，剖開屍體抽取他們的摩米埃生命之油，連身體健康的人也被逼入院，而且沒有人能活着出院。印度殖民政府在印度人大規模反抗後，才同意撤銷或修改一些較為高壓的抗疫措施。This is the reading of today。咁今日就係讀到呢度啦。And You probably realize now that like the plague has something to do with what is going to change in Hong Kong。咁可能咧讀到呢度，大家就會留意到啦，鼠疫點解咁重要？即係喺香港嘅歷史裏面，其中一環咧就係佢影響嘅，除咗即係嗰個公共衛生嗰個改變之外，其實就係對於醫學嗰一樣嘢咧，其實都開始有即係一個新嘅睇法啦，或者有新嘅態度啦咁。So Western medicine is beginning to get into people's life or people's trust now。咁大家就見到即係原來開始即係東華提供西醫嘅時候，原來即係逐漸咧都會有好多人去揀，即係就係西醫啦，就未必一定係睇中醫啦咁樣。So like this idea of like Western medicine finally sort of like coming into play in Hong Kong, of course it's something like important or like kind of a landmark of health and medical issues in Hong Kong。咁當然即係呢個就會係香港嘅醫學啦，或者健康嘅嗰個發展，即係大家嗰個醫療系統裡面，即係嗰個發展一個好重要嘅里程碑啦，咁樣樣。But like what I'm interested in is like the at the time like when they were trying to control the plague, all these measures that they were doing is actually quite similar to what China was doing during the zero COVID period, right？ 咁睇到呢一個即係殖民地政府喺嗰個鼠疫上面做嗰啲咁嘅所謂抗疫措施咧，就令我諗翻起即係就只不過係幾個月冇幾個月，只不過一個月之前即係大陸即係佢哋進行嘅呢一個所謂清零嘅呢一個嘅舉動啦，其實咧I hate to say this， 我其實覺得咁樣講好似好衰咁 ，but like it's sort of like the way that the Chinese were handling the pandemic is so backward that like they are actually using methods from like the colonial government back in the 19th century。 咁但係我想講就係你可以見到即係中國嗰種落後嘅做法或者嗰個思想係停留喺19世紀嘅即係抗鼠疫嘅階段。And this is like both sad and horrifying。 咁我覺得就係好悲哀同埋亦都係好恐怖啦咁樣樣。This country has not really moved forward despite all the lies they have been telling the world. And people gave into that lie and keep on thinking, oh, China is so powerful now. No, China is not powerful. China is stupid. It has not grown at all. 咁即係大家就係即係信晒，即係西方國家就信晒啦，即係哇中國而家好強大啊，佢哋好勁啊，佢哋嚟緊就點樣即係超級強國啊咁樣樣，強你老母咩？其實係好撚蠢嘅一個國家嚟嘅，佢哋用緊嘅方法，佢哋對即係呢個世界嘅睇法係冇進步過啊！佢哋係冇進步過，佢停留喺呢個階段。你而家見到嘅 exactly 佢做緊嘅嘢就係仲係1894年嘅時候做緊嘅嘢。我哋而家係幾多年？我哋而家係2023年啊。And you can see like the way they were treating this entire pandemic is so backwards that like it was being taken from what was being done in 1894. And we are now in 2023. So, like, people, please wake up. Like, China is not powerful. Stop giving them that power. They are not. And by giving them that power, you are not actually empowering the people. You are empowering the dictatorship, the Chinese Communist Party, which is hurting the people and making the people suffer in a way that is like very damaging to the entire world。 咁我想講就係即係我哋必須要好努力向即係啲外國人去講， 中國係幾咁戇鳩，同埋係幾咁唔係一個大國，同埋唔係一個進步，唔係一個有權勢嘅國家。因為佢哋如果咁樣做，佢哋所謂去幫佢唔係幫緊中國人，佢係幫緊呢一個中國嘅極權政府，呢一個威權嘅政府就係呢個中國共產黨。咁你幫共產黨嘅話，你基本上就係全世界都可以死嘅，即係你根本係冇可能大家有好嘅後果咯，即係你會有好結果，我覺得。So yeah, and anyway, it's actually has something to do with like what I was doing in the afternoon. 咁其實都同我晏晝做嘅嘢有關嘅。I was being contacted by a few international playbackers recently. 咁我最近就係有一啲國際嘅一人一故事嘅朋友揾我啦，咁 and then we sort of have these meetings for a couple of times now. 咁我哋就有即係網上嘅會議，咁我哋其實都做咗幾次啦已經咁。Of course we did playback. 咁當然我哋有做 playback 啦，咁 but the main theme was like how do we start a conversation during this period or this time of conflict, like how do we use playback or how do we sort of like help make this world a better place by using playback. 咁當然都係即係想要探討嘅嘢就係而家喺即係個戰亂即係咁多爭執、咁多矛盾嘅世界裏面，即係我哋 做 playback 可以做啲乜嘢，做到啲乜嘢咧咁。So we have been having a lot of like really powerful and touching sections. 咁我哋呢幾次開會，我哋即係都有好多好有力啦，同埋好觸動到大家嘅一啲故仔嘅分享啦，咁樣樣。And we're still finding a way to see what we can do with our expertise. 咁我哋都仲揾緊我哋點樣可以大家即係投入大家即係叻嘅嘢啦，做開即係專門做開嘅嘢，然後可以真係幫到個世界啦。I have no idea what this would lead to. 我都唔知道會去到邊嘅。咁 part of it is that we have been talking about like we should be sharing about like what's going on with our world or you know with our country.With our home right now. 咁其中一個提議就係我哋即係互相分享我哋而家各自自己嘅人生啦，或者係我哋嘅國家啦，我哋面對緊即係呢一啲問題啦咁樣。So for me, it's just like another way to tell the story of Hong Kong as well. 咁對我嚟講就係都係一個機會去繼續講香港嘅故仔啦，説好香港故事啦咁樣。So yeah, so hopefully like this will make me feel more useful. 咁希望咁樣會令到我覺得我自己有用啲啦。咁recently I feel that you know after leaving Hong Kong, I have actually lose my purpose of life entirely. 咁我最近其實有少少覺得就係離開香港之後，我其實就係失去咗一個人生嘅目標，或者我覺得人生冇意義嘅咁樣樣。But that's something I just have to deal with. 咁呢個係我自己需要面對嘅嘢啦，咁樣樣。Anyway, this is for today. 咁今日就讀到呢度啦，and I'll see you again tomorrow. 聽日再見，拜拜。